Alex, it's a record. We're only 2 minutes late tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Imagine that. Only 2 minutes late. That's that might possibly be a new world record, I think. So, hello, Mark. How are you doing? Or it's Mark. Hello, Mac. How are you doing, sir?
Waiting to see if Catfish jumps on tonight. No, he was really late last go around.
Yeah, I would think he would be hiding out in the shadows somewhere for sure. But we'll see. So we're trying something new tonight. So we are on YouTube, but I'm using my phone, and I am recording with my phone live on the Muddy Waters TikTok channel that I have. And Dennis has one also. So I know a few people have, I think some people have been confused a few times, but yes, Dennis has a TikTok channel for Muddy Waters, and I also have one also. So Dennis's is the one that has way more people on it. So mine is, I do not have the followers that he does, unfortunately. So.
And I got your TikTok live pulled up on my phone, and it's looking good.
Is it coming up? I noticed I got to figure out something different because unfortunately with StreamYard, I don't know exactly what we have to do to be able to, I guess, link our TikToks to the StreamYard that we do for YouTube to do, basically the show. So unfortunately at this time we have to redneck engineer it. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish tonight. Cause, the Muddy Waters TikTok channel that I have, I don't think I've ever gone live on it. And so this is just something new, something we're just trying tonight. So we'll see. But, we ask if if you can please like, share, the videos, the videos that have pictures, the actual videos of us talking, doing, whether it's any of our channels, any of our social media outlets, please help us help spread awareness for the families of missing people, for the person that's missing and their families.
Let's see, you got some people jumping on over there, Alex.
Yeah, I saw there for a second. I think we was up to 4. And right now at the moment, I see only 2 people. And I see you liking the live. So that's great. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate those. So we're going to discuss a little bit about Marc Fullerton and what the Muddy Waters team has done with spreading awareness and also a search. We did a search. Let's see, that was 2 years ago, I believe, that Tammy and I and some other acquaintances of ours, we actually went to Arkansas. We went to a location down there to basically do a search for Marc. But I guess I'll hand it back over to you for a minute and let you explain how we became involved with Marc Fullerton's case. How did Muddy Waters get involved with actually trying to work on Marc Fullerton's case?
We actually had several individuals reach out to us and ask for help with this, including another advocate and including family of Marc. So we picked up the case. Mark is missing from Braggadocio, Missouri since June 3rd of 2020. And just the story going into it, and I'll read some of this off. This was found on NamUs. Mark was last seen in Braggadocio, Missouri on June 25th of 2020. Now that does contradict the missing since date, which is June 3rd. But his girlfriend stated he unexpectedly walked away from her residence while she was in the bathroom, and she thought he might be heading to his grandfather's house 2 miles away. If so, he never arrived. He never been seen or heard from again. Left all of his belongings, including his truck, wallet, keys, denture, hat, jewelry, phone, glasses. They're at her residence. Now, something significant in this, and we've been able to confirm with family, is Mark always wore a cross necklace. It had a lot of sentimental value to him. They've said that he would sleep in it, he would shower in it, never took it off. But this necklace was found broken on the floor of his girlfriend's home. Prior to the disappearance, he had said he planned to end his relationship with the girlfriend, and uncharacteristic for him to be out of touch with his family. Now, we did see photos from inside of the house from that time period. And to be honest, it looked like a tornado went through there.
Yeah.
I mean, not so much clutter, but there's furniture upended. There's stuff scattered on the floor. It looked like a struggle took place there.
Yes, that is correct, for sure. You know, and it's a crazy story. The whole, I don't know how far. I mean, the majority of the people know the Mark Fullerton case. They know a lot of the rumors, the theories, the accusations. You know, the world of drugs. I mean, there's been so many things, and I guess in the beginning, before we ever went down, we were involved with Mark's aunt, Jenny. I think her real name was it Jenny or Jennifer Mott?
Yes.
Mott, and that's how we first really started working on the story with her. Is I believe she come on our, you know, like our Sunday Night Live, like we're doing now. I believe she came on once or twice, you know, I know back in the day when Dan was involved with this, she and Dan and her had talked multiple times. Dan did play a big part in communication with her. And of course, we were always thankful for Dan's work that, you know, he played a part in that. But I think we talked with her off and on for, I don't know, was it 3 or 4 months, I think, before we finally set a date to go down there. And I guess, not to jump the storyline, but unfortunately, Jenny did pass away. She passed away. Oh, geez. I honestly can't remember how long it was after Tammy and I had gone down there and we had, you know, done the search and all that. And then a crazy tragic turn is Mark's biological father then passed away. Not terribly long afterwards, but their family has been through a tremendous amount, of grief, with everything that's gone on. Unfortunately, when we did go to Arkansas to do the site excavation, of course, we met Jenny and we met Mark's stepfather, because Mark's mother remarried. So we had met, his stepfather, and he helped us. And then also Mark's dad, his biological father, was there, and he helped us when we did the site excavation. So unfortunately, at that time period, we never did meet Mark's biological mother when we, did all this. And I want to say it was the fall. Well, not quite the fall. End of summer, maybe. I'm trying to remember the exact time, but it was still hot out. So, but it was 2023. So I'm pretty sure it was 2023 when we were there.
It was, yeah.
So, because I know it wasn't this time last year. So it was 2023 when we went. But I'm sure that Dennis will probably do a rerun of the show where we showed the pictures. And I don't know if Dennis might already have some ready to pull up and share with us tonight. I don't know.
I do.
Okay.
Most of those pictures got lost when my old computer got hacked and my Google Documents erased, but I was able to find, I think it was 6 of them.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was an interesting turn of events down there. We had some leads, some information that came in that basically told us that, this location, the information with the location, there was going to be basically a burn pit, and that there would be concrete, there would be, this burn pile, but there would be concrete in it. There would be trash. There would be tires and wheels that had been burnt. And, we would eventually find Mark. Literally, we started, and probably 5 minutes, we ran into the concrete and trash. And then we, kept going. And then eventually we started running into, at first, I thought it was bones. And it turned out to be like sticks and, stuff from like a tree, but it didn't never burn. So I was literally on my hands and knees, on my stomach, laying in this burn pile, and I was sifting through stuff. And then we would start digging again and looking, and, we were documenting. And, of course, this whole time, Dennis, the rest of the team is, back at home. We're sending pictures, we're taking pictures as fast as we can to send to them, for, our research purposes, our documentation purposes with the case. So, it was pretty crazy. It really was. But unfortunately, we dug through that trash pile and we came up with nothing. We made it all the way back down to dirt. And so we basically stopped and we regrouped. We discussed what was going on. So we started digging test holes. And this very sweet, very nice couple, and they had only owned the house for 6 months or a year, Dennis.
Right.
So traumatic for them to find out the whole storyline, everything that was going on. And at first, that's what kind of took us the time period when we agreed to go down and do the site excavation. To physically getting in the vehicles and going down there was because of basically the owners who owned the home. They wanted to check their, they talked with law enforcement. They found out the whole entire story. They talked with their lawyers. What's the ramifications? How does this all play? So, it was quite a bit before we actually, was down there and on site. So yeah, it was a crazy, crazy, crazy ordeal that we dealt with. You know, the whole 9 yards for sure.
Now, you mentioned the test holes that you guys dug down there. That was kind of what this was, wasn't it?
It was. So what we were doing is we were basically, once we got out of the burn pile, and we dug all the way around the burn pile. So we were digging to the point where we would run out of trash, and then we were back into this sandy, I think up here we call it sandy loam, up in the Kansas, Missouri area. Um, it was basically, it was probably 3/4 and a quarter dirt. And when you got down about 5.5, 6 feet, it was nothing but solid sand. So I don't know why my hair is like really weird looking tonight on here, but my hair does not look that normal. That's crazy. I seen that Catfish has made a comment here. So we would, we dug all around the burn pile, and once we realized that the burn pile was, we had it contained to a certain radius, then we would start digging test strips and test holes to see if we would come into contact with any other area in this yard that was burned. Because the whole story is there was some low spots in the yard where over time, when people burn stuff, it usually does collapse a little bit with the weight of dirt being put on it. And the family was very, very adamant that this burn pile was in this location. And there was a burn pile in that location, and that's where we started. So, we worked that whole pile, that entire time till we either dug down and hit sand, or we dug in the radius and we ran out of trash, and then we started running into dirt. So we went back to doing these test holes, these test, strips that we were digging. And, that night we basically went back to the hotel. Tammy and I talked, we got on the phone with Dennis, with the rest of the group. We were discussing everything. And, the next morning, we were back at it, 8 o'clock. And then we started digging again. And we pretty much made a decision that, for us, it was a 6-hour drive, we were basically in the southeast corner of Missouri, across the border into Arkansas, in that general area. I think we were just a few minutes away from Tennessee, basically. But that Sunday, I should back up. That Saturday, we seen a SUV drive by numerous times. And I had told Dennis, Tammy knew, that, the family knew. And I'm like, well, is this somebody we know? Is this somebody that knows what's going on? And on Sunday, while we were digging, it was probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 3 o'clock. And, we were at the point where we were not finding any more trash. And we would dig, and then we would grade. We would, and we promised this family, your yard will be better. It will be, better than it was. And the family agreed to plant grass seed, do whatever they had to do to make sure that the family was 100% happy with everything. And they, and the family was very blessed and thankful that this couple allowed this to happen. But finally, I saw the small SUV pull into the neighbor's driveway, and I pointed to Tammy. Tammy saw me, and I pointed at it, and Tammy walked over, and this lady come walking in the backyard, and she starts telling Tammy that she is the neighbor and that she had lived in that house for 20 some, 30 some years. She had lived there for a very long time. And she basically told Tammy that we were digging in the wrong spot. That the original big giant burn pile was right off the back of the house. Well, unfortunately, the homeowner did not want us digging right off the back of the house because the septic tank was there and the lateral lines. And he did not want us to mess it up. So things got a little intense for about 5 minutes. Mark's stepfather was upset because in his mind, he was like, she drove by. She saw us back there digging. And I believe with the rumors that had gone around town that she instantly knew what we were doing. And he was very upset because why in the world? And Mark's father was upset. And I think we all were, to be honest, we were all upset. Is why didn't you tell us this on Saturday? You know, why did you not come over and say, hey, why in the world on Saturday did you not come over and say, hey, you all need to be digging up here, figure something out? Because that little burn pile that was at the very back of the property, and there was a huge burn pile up front behind the house. And so the story is that the people that lived in the house at some point in some time they had dug a big giant hole and they were just burning trash left and right. And supposedly, you know, Mark's remains were thrown in there. And that was the story, you know. So, you know, she basically walked back to her house. Mark's stepfather, you know, his very upset and felt like, well, wow, we wasted all day yesterday and we wasted this. Where, you know, maybe we called a septic company out, septic in that knows the is that, you know, figured out and then tried digging around the lateral lines and to see if we ran into the burn pile. So, so that's basically the gist of our physical search, you know, that we actually did that year. And like we said, you know, we were in contact, Mark's aunt and his Aunt Jenny, and Aunt Jenny is Mark's mom's, you know, Mark's mom and Aunt Jenny are sisters. That's how the relation is in the family. So, you know, that is where we've been with it. You know, we've had a lot of other stories that has come in. We've had other rumors of things that have come in. So, you know, of course, we're not done with Mark's story. You know, we work on stories as they come in over time. And, you know, sometimes we have to give stories of missing people a little bit of a break because it actually, I think, helps us regroup and refocus and look back at some of these theories, some of these accusations, these rumors, and, you know, really try to look at things in a factual and look at stuff where there's some kind of evidence and really try to make decisions on, you know, what the best scenario is to move forward with that case. You know, should we go back down there someday and try to get the local septic company to mark out the laterals and try to figure stuff out? Absolutely. You know, did they dig up all the trash and put in the septic tank in the laterals where the burn pit could have been? I mean, honestly, it's highly probable that they did, you know, because of how this lady made it sound. compared to where everything was. It does sound like they were relatively in the same area of the backyard. So I think we got some questions here or some comments. Maybe I'll be quiet for a minute here and we'll catch up here.
I do want to back up to David Smith. He asked what happened to Dan. He was a big part of the team. Is he okay? Yes, Dan is okay. What went on is, as you guys know, and I'm going to put it in the comments here, Missing in USA. Any of you that are on TikTok, look up missing_in_USA. Dan has his organization over on TikTok. They have done incredible work, especially when it comes to the Amber Alerts that come out. They are on it. They have helped bring home multiple children covering the Amber Alerts. They will actually go live and do their investigation live. They're in contact with law enforcement, getting answers, and just doing so tremendous over there. He had built up a team behind Missing in USA, and we have so many cases, then they have so much that they're doing that it just literally got to the point that it made sense for Dan to be able to put all of his focus into Missing in USA and continue to build what they're doing there, which he has done and just doing tremendous. So proud of him and their team and everything they're doing over there.
Yeah.
And you will probably still see Dan join us on a live feed here and there. I wanted to reach out and invite him to join us tonight. The last several days I've been sick, so I've been really behind on a lot of stuff. But we do want to bring Dan over on a live with us. But again, if you're on TikTok, Missing in USA, and they're just doing incredible over there. They're killing it. They're working on legislation that's going to help not only bring missing people home, but possibly even prevent some people from even going missing. So they're doing incredible work over there.
Yeah. Dan, he has played a major role on social media with the Amber Alerts and stuff, and we had quite a few Sunday Night Lives where people were asking, where's Dan, what's going on with Dan, so Dan, he was so busy with what he had going on, and there was lots of times where we were live, and unfortunately Dan live over on his channel, and we were live, and that's just how it played out and stuff. So, but we wish nothing but the best for Dan. Hopefully someday, if he does choose to come on and be a part of the show one time and talk about his ongoing efforts, by all means, you guys will know we're having a special guest. It's Dan. So, but yeah, and as many people know, we've put this out there quite a few times. He wants to come on the show and be a part and discuss, cases. If they want to bring up cases that they might have worked on or somebody in their area, by all means, everybody is always welcome. We do know there's people out there that do scam and do play jokes and games, and Dennis has the dump button at his fingertips that if he has to take somebody off because they start something, of course, that's what will happen. But yeah, Dan, they're doing great over there. By all means, if you're on TikTok, whatever, please support them. If you haven't and you do go over there, say, hey, the old team over there at Muddy Waters sent us over to join up and watch you all. So we're here from your old team. So, give the old shout out if you can. But
and with you saying how the invite is open for everybody to join us on a live feed that wants to, if you want to join us on a live, send us an email, mwsar22@yahoo.com, or go to our website, reach out to us there, and we would be more than happy to bring you on live with us.
Yeah. So Catfish has asked, have you all looked into any more of the Randy Leach case? Believe it or not, we were talking about Randy Leach today because of another case that we are involved in right now currently. We were on the USGS website, and we were doing basically we're working a case where we were looking at water levels in a creek at a certain time period. So this case is in Missouri, and I'm sure within the next few days, maybe this week, you guys will have another update to some stuff that we've been a part of and working on. But right at the moment, I will leave it as this. There was a search yesterday, and Dennis and I were talking, and we were doing some water record data search. We were trying to understand the water levels that took place in this location time that this person went missing, due to the of how I can't get at the moment the conditions that this was put into. We were looking at the data to see, does this make sense? Is this possible? And while we were on there, we went from that case to Randy's case, and I switched to the Kansas side of the USGS to pull up the water records from today versus the day that Randy Leach went missing. And unfortunately, they didn't have data for them that time in Kansas. And we searched multiple, locations in and around the Linwood, Kansas area. There is multiple different data, I don't know the correct word, but whatever they use to measure. But unfortunately, in 1988, when Randy Leach went missing, they were not collecting data. So, but on the flip side, I believe it's on NOAA, the NOAA site, because Dennis and I has researched it. We have looked up the theories and the rumors that, in 1988, that Linwood was having a drought and that the water levels were the lowest they had been in forever. We did find that data. I just can't remember exactly which site it was on. But
that was the NOAA.
Was it? But the USGS site, absolutely, it does go back. The case that, the search that took place yesterday, the time they were doing data, recording data, and it even says on their website that I think they go all the way back to 1893 that they were recording data. But unfortunately, with the Randy Leach case in the Linwood, Kansas area, between Lawrence, Kansas, DeSoto, Kansas, all on the river there, they just were not doing data. Because, Dennis and I were brainstorming, trying to, look at, other forms of stuff that we've read in the past. So, and just real quick, I do want to thank everybody that's watching over on TikTok. Please don't forget to give us a like, and, if you would be so kind to join all the different Muddy Water Search and Recovery talk channels, we would greatly appreciate it. Spread the videos that Dennis and I both post on both of our channels on TikTok, because by sharing and liking, it's helping spread awareness. So please, if you can, repost them. It would, to us, we're not making any kind of money off any of this, nothing like that. It's awareness for the missing, for the families, the victim, and just spreading awareness, so. And that's also the same for our YouTube channel, people, which, we talk about it every week. But, trying this recording live on TikTok, at least on my channel tonight, is something new. I'm using my phone. It is redneck set up here recording. So hopefully it's working well.
Hey, we can get you some duct tape, some WD-40. We'll get you set up.
Yeah, but it's working at the moment, so that's what matters. So, let's see, what other questions, comments can we look at real quick? Alex and Dennis both need Red Bulls. I'm not a fan of Red Bulls. I mean, there's only a couple that I kind of like, and one of them, I guess, is the original flavor that's sugar-free. The rest of them they're just not that good. I've been kind of drinking the ranch fuel energy drinks. Those are pretty good. And they're sugar-free, natural ingredients. So, and by all means, if there's anybody on TikTok that would like to ask a question or anything, I can, of course, read it out loud, and, we can, talk about it too.
See, Tomby Thorne says, this is one of the craziest cases I've seen in my life. There's too many people knows what happened and for no one to be arrested or for Marc to be found. And I agree with that. I think there are multiple people who know what happened to Marc. I think there's multiple people that were involved in Marc's disappearance from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people make those comments like, of course, there's got to be people that know. How can these people have on their conscience, their heart, their soul for all these years? There's so many people that, know stuff, and they their graves. I mean, in a way, when you look at the amount of cases, it's been a few years since we worked statistic numbers. I used to talk statistic numbers a lot and look stuff up. But right now, I don't know what the current running total is for missing people in the United States. The breakdown of adults, the breakdown of children, the breakdown of male to female. But yeah, absolutely. Stuff, it's just crazy. But I wish people would let stuff go over time. You hear about what is that, Dennis? The statute of limitations. Oh, after 30 years, you can't get in trouble for something. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if that's true or not. But, we've put out there so many times, if we're working on a case and, we have had people on our shows that are related to cases, 100%. Um, you know, we've put the address out there. We have a P.O. box. You don't have to put a return address on it. We're not interested in doing, how do I say this? We're not interested in putting you in jail. We're interested in finding someone to bring the family relief from their grief, the missing person that they have been, they have loved, they have been searching for. That's not our fight to put somebody in jail for what they did. Our fight is to help bring someone home. Perfect example, Joanne Conger. She has a missing loved one in her family. She is one of our cases. We have discussed that case many, many a times. Everything, and we never give up. There's times where we don't talk about a case for periods of time, but it doesn't mean we give up on those cases, because we still look into them. I watch missing people case stuff almost on a daily basis while I am working, while I am doing something, so I can learn. The more stuff I see that's not our information is more information that Dennis and I can talk about, that we can learn about, that we can share, that we can brainstorm on a case. Oh, we haven't looked at this angle. We haven't heard of this. So these are parts of the learning experience in trying to understand missing people cases and trying to move forward with them.
Yeah, Max says it good there. We just want the missing people home.
That's right. That is absolutely correct. I guess Bobby has shaved his head. I have never seen a bald catfish before.
I feel you, catfish.
Catfish is another character that we have known for a long time, that hopefully one of these days he will come on our show and go live with us and talk about stuff that he's been a part of. Joanne writes, our family appreciates all that you do, not only for our missing loved one, but for all of them. Well, thank you very much, Joanne. That means a lot. Really does.
I'm looking. I got the P.O. box on here somewhere. I'm trying to find it to share that.
It is P.O. Box 93, Camden Point, Missouri, 64018. It used to be in the banners when you clicked on the banners link, and I know that the StreamYard stuff has changed, and I don't want to go...
Yeah. When it changed, it took all the banners off.
But yeah, anytime that, you have a case that, something, if you, have any kind of leads, by all means, you don't have to write your name on an envelope to mail it. You don't have to put the return address. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to mail it where you live. Go drive 25 miles away to some other post office box if you're worried. Or not post office box, some other post office in another town. It's as simple as that. But, by all means, if you have something that could possibly help bring someone home and you need to get something off your chest, then by all means, just take the time to sit down and write a quick letter,
And I see you have new people joining on TikTok, so might want to go over the PO box one more time.
Yeah, so the PO box right here where my finger is in front of the camera, it's right there. PO Box 93, Camden Point, Missouri, 64018. And it is scrolling right here across the bottom. And like I said, I'm using my phone live on TikTok. I've got it propped up. So unfortunately, this is something new we're trying tonight. Hopefully it's working. I don't think I've seen anybody make a comment yet over on TikTok. I keep seeing people that have joined, but when I look up, it shows there's only 2 people watching at the moment. So it's okay. This is the first time we've tried this. So.
And something I'm seeing on TikTok, the more you go live, the more people watch.
Yeah.
The first several, it will be low numbers, but then it'll grow from there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to, I think I'm going to start doing this when we do our Sunday night lives. I think I'm going to try doing this and see how it goes.
Anytime we can get cases out to more people, that's always a positive.
Absolutely. It's the the social media awareness of sharing it, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter X, whatever it's called these days. I don't even go on X, Twitter anymore. I don't think I've been on it in months. But anything that anybody can do to spread awareness, like I said, it's a blessing. Somebody will thank you for doing it some way, shape, or form, to help. Because, the whole goal is trying to bring closure, bring the closure to these families with these missing people that have dealt with grief and anger and sadness and, loneliness for the lost, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, children, grandparents. I mean,
Zane, did you all at Muddy Waters get my email of missing children likely in Canada but had an affiliation to Vanished Children's Alliance in Los Gatos, California? I did see those emails. Again, I've been sick the last few days, so I do have some catching up to do, but we'll definitely look into that because that looked really interesting.
So I guess, since Marc's aunt has passed away, Marc's aunt basically was the one that was in charge of the fight for the family for looking for Marc. She was the one that was leading the charge to do all this. And unfortunately, when she passed away, I think all of our, at this time, Dan was still a part of the group. Dan was still spending quite a bit of time with us. And I think Dan was talking to Mark's biological mother. Is that correct to say that, Dennis?
Yes.
So, I have never talked with Mark's mother. I don't know if Dennis has. I believe it was only Dan that was doing the communication. But then, like we said, then Mark's biological father passed away. And so really now it seems like it is Mark's mother, which, of course, this has been very, very hard on Mark's mother, Mark's stepfather, and then Mark's sons, which are, I don't know how old did he have 2 boys, right? 2 or 3 boys?
2.
Two boys. I did reach out to them on Facebook. They never responded to my questions. They never responded to anything. So I don't know if it's something that they're just not involved with, that they don't want to be involved with. I don't know. So, at this point, I don't know. I don't know what communication. I haven't really seen anything. I haven't seen anything new like on Facebook or really anything else for quite a while that was no different than the typical same rumors, theories, stories of what happened. I haven't seen any smoking guns of new evidence or new leads or anything like that. And I don't think anybody's reached out to us, knowing what searches we've done, what, just investigative work that we've done with, stuff on social media. I don't think anybody's reached out to us at all. So, and of course, by all means, the reason we're doing this tonight is we don't want Mark's case to go stagnant, and fall to the side. So, that's why we're asking, hey, please share this, please, repost, share, like, because we can't let these cases go away, fall away where it just out of sight, out of mind. And that there is so many cases in Missouri and Kansas, way more on the Missouri side, of missing people that, let's be honest, there's cases all the way back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s that nobody talks about. They are just, they're just gone. A lot of these people would be in their, there was children that went missing, young adults, and for the most part, some of these people are 50, 60, some of them might be 70 years old, but some of these people that went missing back in the day, they are way over 100 years old now, and there's, nothing will ever become of anything at this point with those. Even those people that are over 100 years old that have been missing for, 50, 60 years, I would suspect that a lot of their family has also become deceased over time. And it falls away, What you got there, Dennis?
She asked if the Vanished Children's Alliance is still in existence at the time, and no, it is not.
Okay.
It looks like September 30th of 2009, the organization was no longer operational.
I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that.
I hadn't either.
Which is, there's probably so many missing people alliances, stuff that I'm sure a lot of people have never heard of it, unfortunately.
Right.
So,
Hey, there's a lot of people that haven't heard of us, so share this. Help us get these out there.
that is correct.
And once we hit 3,000 subscribers here on YouTube, we'll be doing that giveaway, a live feed, doing several giveaways.
That's right. And for the people over watching here on TikTok, we're trying to hit 3,000 subscriber members, on our channel. And we're going to do some kind of giveaway, something special. Oh, there we go. What do we have, Dennis?
That is a smartwatch. It's got 3 extra bands. And if you bought this from the store that I got it from, it's around $180. And this will be one of our giveaways.
Okay. So in the past, we have given away TVs. We've given away Roku, stuff for your TVs. We have done the little battery-powered Echo Dot speakers things, like the Alexa things, shirts. We've done gift cards for restaurants. We've done quite a bit. We have definitely shelled out way more money than we have ever made from YouTube.
Yeah.
So, but we do that out of the goodness of our hearts, for our audience, for our extended family, which everybody is. So yeah, we've been talking about hitting this 3,000 subscriber mark on the YouTube channel and trying to do something awesome, fun. We've done silly dress up Halloween shows. We've done some silly things in the past. But yeah, we're getting close, and I don't know what is our current number right now, Dennis.
2,950.
2,950. We have 50 people to go that would, man, if we can just get to that 3,000 number. Does that 3,000 number help us do anything besides just 3,000 people?
No.
No. All it's doing is helping us spread awareness, helping us with people that, some people will come to the channel that will bring cases, and ask us to look in and stuff. But yeah, as soon as we get to that 3,000 number, we're going to do a special show. We're going to have some, we've gave away Muddy Waters search and recovery shirts. Megan, Dennis's wife, she does custom made and stuff. She has a shop. She has done lots of stuff that we've given away. So yeah, we're trying to set a goal, to get to 3,000, to basically up our game on spreading awareness and stuff. So anybody out there on the TikTok channel, if you can find it in your heart to like and subscribe to the Muddy Waters search and recovery YouTube channel, we would be very blessed.
I'll throw that on the screen for the TikTokers.
There we go.
Hey, you have a comment on TikTok.
I have hey, I will donate some tumblers. That is awesome, Fathom. Thank you very much. Fathom is one of my neighbors who lives down the way, who is a friend of Tammy and I's. And I have for her, helping her out with her property. So I do know Fathom from the TikTok right now. So that is awesome. Thank you so much, Fathom. We would greatly appreciate that. And Fathom and her daughter has a TikTok channel for stuff that they do. So thank you very much.
And over here on TikTok, that's her channel, right?
Yes.
So all of you watching this on TikTok, go over, subscribe to her as well.
Yes. So Toby, or I'm not sure how we pronounce the first name, says, I'm from Steele, Missouri, maybe 5 miles from where, there it is. You put it on the bigger thing. 5 miles from where he was missing from. I work in the public, and yes, there were several involved. And yes, that's what we have heard from day one. You know, when we had a few of the bigger shows that we've done on Mark Fullerton's case, we've had quite a few guests that have come on, and they have talked about stuff. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, we believe that for sure.
And Toby, if you ever want to reach out, there's our email, and then there's my phone number as well there. You're welcome to reach out anytime. Look at that. I even misspelled my name on there.
Yes, Denise, you did. I will admit, I think I have done that multiple times myself.
Hey, Missy stopped by on here. Missy Scott. She pops in now and then, but we don't see her too often anymore. And I only caught it because I saw Catfish say, "Hi, Missy." But yeah, that's Missy Scott there.
Well, hello, Miss. Well,
said, yes, I'm here. Well, you need to be here more often, dadgummit. There's many from the old crew that we don't see all that much anymore. But like Mac Randall Jr., again, he's been here almost from the very beginning. Same with Catfish. Joanne wasn't real far behind him.
That's right. That's right. It seems like we have our original group that has always been with the Muddy Waters channel for a long time. And then we've had like a few rounds of people that have come and gone over the years that have come in to the Muddy Water, online social media family, and then they leave, and then they come back, and then they've been gone for a while.
I'll be right. Jump off for just.
Uh-oh. Dennis is gone. He must have had to take a phone call or something, because he shut his mic off and his screen. So sometimes he'll message me here if there's something where he's going to be away for a minute, and I haven't gotten a message from him. So, oh well, thank you, Joanne. We appreciate you. We appreciate people who have been in it for the long haul, who've been around week in, week out, with us. So we greatly do appreciate it. And we do understand that people do come and go, because not everybody, let's admit, we can't be here every Sunday night. So it's very understandable, especially like with football season coming up. There's times where, we lose people in and out. So it says we have detected inactivity in your current live. Drag the puzzle piece over. Okay. I guess moving my hands around so look. I wonder if the channel is hearing everything and doing. Evidently they must, because Fathom made a comment.
Yeah.
All right. It's working.
There's like a 2-second delay over there versus on here, but it's coming across clear.
Oh. Interesting. Huh.
Hey, Joanne just lost me right here. That hurts my feelings right there.
Let's go, Bills. I don't know, us from the homeland of the Chiefs here. I don't know what happened last year. And of course, they lost last night on the preseason opener, which that's okay. It is what it is.
I didn't even know they were playing last night, and you brought it up today, and it's like, oh, shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, I caught it. I was doing something, and somebody posted a video of some guy doing live play-by-play. I don't know if you could watch the game on TV, the preseason game. I don't know. But this guy was listening to it, and he was doing live play-by-play YouTube channel. So that's how I basically saw it. So, yeah. Definitely was different.
Now, Catfish really lost me right there.
Yeah.
Now, Joanne, I understand Jim Kelly was good. I give you that one. I don't know about the Falcons.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll do our 10-minute football talk at the end of our episodes here coming up, like we've kind of done in the past. So
I think it's going to be a really good season. I think there are a lot of teams that's going to be surprisingly good this year.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be teams that's just good anyway.
Yeah.
I look for some upsets this year.
Yeah. Well, we will see. Definitely, for sure. So I guess so what do you think going, moving here forward, Dennis, with the Marc Fullerton case? What's your thoughts? Where do you think the Muddy Waters team will be going with this case here in the future?
I think the searches for him, I think we will be going back to the location that was dug bringing in the people to mark the septic tank so we don't disturb that. But I think that needs to be finished out. And then information we've had come in, we do have a couple other locations to search after that. And it sounds like it may be a weekend in the future that we'll be doing searches for Marc. And that particular search where the dig was, we will not get to film that because the property owner didn't want it revealed, his location revealed. If he's not there, the other locations we will be able to film or go live and bring everybody along on.
Yeah.
And we've got other searches this year and later this year that we're going to get to film and bring everybody on. Some of these coming up in the future, near future, may actually require getting in the water. You know, I've got my small scuba tank and everything to where I won't want to do a deep dive with that, but a shallow dive to go down, confirm something, we'll be able to do that now. And some of these we will be filming, some of these we will be live and bringing all of our viewers with us on those. And that's both water-based searches where we're running sonar. It's going to be ground-based searches where we're doing all sorts of methods. And going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Now, next year, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon, but if everything goes right, next year we may have a cadaver dog team joining up with us in searching multiple properties. And I'm really looking forward to that, especially when it comes to like Crystal Kipper's case. There's potentially 23, 24 victims that could be found on this property. So really looking forward to that. And that is another one that we are going to get to film and bring out for all of you. We will have a drone overhead getting footage of the canine working. So you're going to get to see what the canines actually do on the ground working. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's the Crystal Kipper case. Tremendous amounts of research was done, and the guy that was involved with her, there was, at that time there was, he had captured another girl, and she had she was able to get free. And when she went to the police and the police went back to his place where he stayed and where he had this other tied up, locked up, that's when they found Crystal Kipper's personal belongings. So he was into snatching women. He was into doing terrible, terrible things. At that time, there was multiple girls going missing. One of the dogs is scratching on her dog bed. I was like, what is that noise? There was multiple prostitutes that were missing, that were found dead. There was multiple things going on in the Kansas City metro area at the time of Crystal Kipper's disappearance, so on and so forth. The location that we went to, which was a lead, which was information, which was to be his fishing spot. We did we went there and I think we were there for 3 or 4 hours, maybe. I mean, we were all the way down to the creek. We were underneath the railroad bridges while the train was going on top of us. We were walking the farm fields, found clothing. We found probably 4 or 5 articles of clothing. And it was older clothing, but it did not match supposedly what she had on. But let's be honest, at this point, we don't know if what she had on when she went missing was the clothes technically she had on when she was officially missing and when she could have been unalived. We don't know. We don't know those details. So,
now, we do know some of her clothing, most of her clothing was actually found in this guy's residence that she was wearing that night.
Oh, that is true. That is true. So, would he have stripped her down and did what he did when he was done? We don't know. So in the end, looking back, if this was his favorite fishing spot and he was known to have been seen there, the basically after she went missing the following morning, he evidently was seen at his favorite fishing spot. There's no telling who could possibly be buried there, have been placed in the creek. The creek runs to the river. We don't know. The place has been flooded so many times over the years with storms and high water. Originally, when she went missing, the one farm field was but trees. And we know this because of Google Earth historical imaging. We can see when they cleaned all the trees out and turned it into a farm field when it used to be nothing but woods in this one section. So we don't know. There's another case of, we go back to the whole situation of GPR, a cadaver dog, the old original bridge at this location is long gone. It was one bridge. They put in 2 bridges. They changed it all up. Things have happened in this area. We don't know. We don't know if he did what he did right at where they parked and got out to go fishing, if he could have taken her somewhere else and, buried her. We don't know. So that's where hopefully someday, bringing in the cadaver dog, trying to run search, we know how tall she was. We know what she weighed, basically. I think we know how tall. We know what he weighed from his arrest records. We come up with ideas. We had an idea yesterday of something on the case in the search that happened yesterday. But, we can find someone that weighed what he weighed in his height. And then we can find someone that was her height and what she weighed. And I know this is morbid to say this, and we're not trying to be disrespectful, but basically have someone drag someone as possibly as far as they can before they give up. There's, when we were there, when she went missing, Dennis and I worked with the NOAA weather records, and we pulled the temperature for that month. We knew the rain, the snow. We knew what the temperature of the ground was, basically. We knew that he could have dug a hole at that time period, because it was cold. And that was one thing Dennis and I thought of. I was like, well, he didn't bury her because the ground was frozen. No, the temperatures were way above normal for that whole month. So, yes, he absolutely could have dug a hole and buried her, and this is is most of these cases when we try to do search information, and not only do we use leads, but we do look into the past when it comes to weather records, whether it's the time of the year, the water height, what's going on, because that does help us make factual decisions on leads, rumors, theories, hearsay about people that's missing. Because we will look at it and say, no, I don't think this happened. This factually, this doesn't, it couldn't have happened. If someone goes missing and supposedly someone hand dug with a shovel and buried them, and it was the end of February and the temperatures had been like 5 degrees for the whole month, no, the frost line, everything, no, it's not going to happen. Sorry. So we do try to really look at evidence on a factual, realistic level of what could have happened. So
yeah, it's amazing how much the weather plays a part in lining up a search with what is realistic and what's not. And that's another reason sometimes it takes us so long to get a search put together on a case, is we are looking at everything. And when we go out and do a search, we want it to be a location of interest based off of evidence versus going out and searching 50 properties just because they're in a particular area. Because this, you said it earlier, we're 100% volunteer. We're not making money to do this. We're paying out of pocket to do this. So it only makes sense to be thorough in our investigation, go to the properties that's most likely going to hold answers, then to go search 3 properties in the area and wait another 2, 3, 4 weeks before we could do another search because we can't afford it.
Yeah. And when it comes down to it, between Dennis and I, we have a tremendous amount of equipment to do this type of stuff. Dennis invested in, anything and everything when he started Muddy Waters. We have the stuff to do water searches. I have, excavators, skid steers. We have the equipment to do excavation work. The things that we really need, in the future is GPR, and we need a bigger boat in time, because the boat that Dennis has, I don't quite think is going to be safe with Dennis and I on it together. So, unfortunately, I will be on the shoreline. So, but those are some of the things that we would like to acquire in time as things progress, as we move forward with Muddy Waters. Is these are just things that we need. In some of these cases, GPR is a huge thing that we really would need to have. Sometimes the boat, having a bigger boat to be able to safely go on bigger bodies of, we search at Smithville Lake last year. Things didn't work out, and unfortunately it put us into this year. Unfortunately, stuff is out. Of course, 100. We're not giving up on Smithville Lake in Smithville, Missouri. There's been lots of people that have gone missing in the general area. Of course, so that there's why people put cars, or it's foul play, or they do it themselves. So, that's on Dennis and I's list to move forward with this one day. The like I said, the GPR, it's easier to look at certain areas with GPR and, of course, study and learn before we ever go out and try. And, if you've been with us for a long time, you know that I've had cattle. I've had multiple calves die here and there for, just reasons that calves die. And then I did have, a grown adult female cow that was 10, 15 years old. And she was about the size of a Volkswagen. And unfortunately, she passed away. And I physically could not move her with one of my biggest skid steers. I literally had to dig a hole with the excavator and roll her over right next to where she, passed away at. So as morbidly as things kind of sound, Dennis and I have the perfect opportunities to learn with GPR because I have areas where I have buried the calves. I know where they're at. We can look at the ground. We can then go to where the calves and the cows are buried, and we can run GPR and learn and understand what disturbed ground, what dug up ground. We can learn from all that. So, hopefully in time, those things will happen for us, I grew up on a dairy farm and I miss that kind of open air freedom. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I used to have security cameras in the cow barn, little cow shed barn thing that we have, and I would turn the security cameras on, which have two-way speakers, and I would sit there, and of course it's running on the night vision part of the camera, and I would sit there and holler at the cows in the dark, and they would all look up and look around, and they knew I were calling for them, but they would be so confused in the dark. So yeah, those were some good times. Sure.
See, so my fingers are crossed that this cadaver dog handler next year, getting to team up with them or them team up with us, go out, do these searches, hopefully bring some of these people home.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
we will be bringing, if this all works out how it looks, we will be bringing the handler on a live feed and discussing with everybody the capabilities of a cadaver dog, what to expect, what they can do, how they work, what they're looking for, just to help everybody be more up to date on what's going on and basically what the efforts are. I know ground penetrating radar, for those who don't know, the ones we're looking at, it looks like it's a push mower and you just push it around. Like this property for Crystal Kipper, that is going to take a long time to go over with ground penetrating radar. Where a cadaver dog, we're going to know in less than a day if there's anything on that property.
Yeah. Well, definitely. And when we talk about the ground penetrating radar, if you can think of like what Dennis just explained, like a push mower, a lot of them look like that. And then they also have some that are basically they're made with PVC pipe, and 2 people or 4 people carry them over really rough terrain where you can't push the one on wheels. So, one of those 2 kinds, which, unfortunately, the farm fields where the crystal kip research was done is cornfields, and there's always corn stubble, which is going to make it hard to push the one with wheels. The people that own the farm fields were wonderful. When I talked to them, worked with them, she even told us time and time again, she always felt like when they were harvesting corn, they were always going to find somebody deceased, because it's a major fishing area in this area. People park off the road, walk down through their farm fields, and they've always been nice. They've always let people go fishing, but she's told me so many times, when we were, in communication with them, that they were always worried that they were going to find somebody deceased. So yeah, I guess when that day comes that we are financially able to drop the hammer and purchase one, we got to make the decision. Are we going to get one with wheels? Or are we going to get one where we have to carry it? Can we buy one that can be converted from wheels to hand carry and still get the same kind of imaging?
That's a good question right there.
So, yeah. So, and then also there's another kind of imaging device that I think at some time Dennis and I will probably try to acquire. And that is one that they use in the concrete construction industry to look for voids in concrete. So let's say you're in a high-rise building, a commercial concrete building, and there's concrete columns. Well, sometimes things happen and you get voids, pockets of air, and they use basically a imaging radar device thing that you scan over concrete to look for air bubbles. So supposedly you can use this device in cases where Dennis and I has discussed this, and we have cases right now. We have multiple cases right now where there is rumors and accusations of one girl. And then, of course, if you guys have all been on the channel, if you are a missing person follower guru, you've probably all heard about the Springfield 3 out of Springfield, Missouri, where the 3 girls went missing. And supposedly those 3 girls are in one of the concrete parking garages at the hospital. Was it the hospital or school? Hospital. So one of the hospitals in Springfield, supposedly the guy that unalived these girls, these ladies, supposedly he was in the concrete business of pouring concrete on a concrete crew. Supposedly that's where these poor girls ended up, is in one of these parking garages floors. Whether she's in these girls are in concrete or they're in the gravel dirt below the concrete, we don't know. But supposedly that's where these girls ended up. And so that's another situation where this can see air pockets in concrete. Dennis, I'll let you explain kind of how you see on bodies being put in concrete and over time, and how
as the body is in the concrete will harden and the body will form the full basically outline of the body. It's going to press in and kind of compress a bit, but you're still going to have the basic size and dimensions of a person. Then as decomposition sets in, you've got lime and Portland and everything in the concrete that is going to help speed up some of that process, but at the same time, it's going to preserve a lot of stuff. But as decomp sets in, the body starts getting smaller, and that's where the void in the concrete comes from.
So Fathom asked the question on the TikTok channel, are you talking about LiDAR? So LiDAR is kind of like a form of radar, and LiDAR is used like, let's say, if you've ever watched now this is my interpretation of LiDAR and how they used it. But I've seen them use LiDAR like in the forest when they basically want to look for something, but they can't see through the canopy of the trees. And they want to look for something. So they'll scan something, and it basically will make the trees disappear, and it will show any objects at ground level and the ground level itself. So lots of times you'll see, I know people have watched Josh Gates and his shows like on I can't even remember what networks they're on now. They'll do something to do with like the Aztecs or somebody, and they'll look for like pyramids or, the Inca structures or any type of things where stuff has now been overtaken by vegetation, and they're looking through the air. So they will use LiDAR either on a drone or a helicopter, and it will scan the ground, and then they'll go back and it will basically get rid of all of the trees and vegetation, and they can see the ground. They can see man-made structures versus, regular, stuff made, I don't know the right word to use, natural stuff that was made naturally. Expedition Unknown. That's right, Mac Randall Jr. That's exactly right. So that is my interpretation of what I've experienced watching stuff with LiDAR on TV. This concrete scanning tool, I don't know what the correct term of it is. But to me, it kind of sounds like GPR, but instead of looking through dirt, and I don't believe GPR in concrete.
Yeah,
I think it
will, just not real deep. Yeah.
Okay. And I can say this. At one time, Dennis and I was working a case, and I reached out to a company about renting a GPR unit because there is companies that do rent them to use. So I reached out to this rental company, and I filled out the thing online about renting, and it gave me two options. It gave me a GPR unit that would look, I want to say, like 0 to 4 or 5 feet deep. And then there was one that would scan like up to 20 feet deep. The one that scanned, the shallow one, was X amount of dollars. You paid for the rental, and they actually would ship you the unit. You would use it for the week, and then I think it was a week. Maybe it was 4 days. You would use it, and then you would ship it back, and that was it. The other one that would go deeper in the ground, they actually had somebody bring it to you, and you had to pay for an operator. It was considerably way more money. So I chose the shallow unit. I filled out the stuff, and it basically said that a representative of the rental department would be in touch with you and let you know when you would receive it, how you paid, everything, so on and so forth. So the guy finally called me a day or two. hey, I got your inquiry about the GPR rental. He said, basically, what are you trying to find? Underground utilities? Are you trying to find blah, blah, blah? And I said, well, unfortunately, I am a member of a missing person search team, and we are needing one for some cases of some people that are missing, and this is what we need. And he was like, oh. So after talking to him, they were going to let us have, if I remember right, they were going to donate the rental to us. And I said, you don't have to do this. I'm more than happy to pay for it. And he said, no, it's all good. He said, the problem is we don't have any right now to rent, because when COVID hit, a lot of the software and engineering stuff that goes into the radar and the stuff that COVID hit, the companies that make the units were not making them because that stuff was on back order. And so basically they told us is we would have to be on a waiting list, and that a lot of the GPR units that were being rented out were not being returned, and the renters were buying them outright. Basically, we waited for a few weeks, and finally I reached back out to him, and he just said, hey man, we don't have anything coming back. Everybody is buying all of our rental stuff because evidently there's an option to buy the equipment. And he said everybody's buying it because nobody that manufactures them is making them right now because of COVID and the lack of parts. So we never got it. We never got to use it, and I've never tried again. So and then that's kind of on just, trying to purchase our own and having our own in-house GPR unit. So I guess in a way, like when I talk about this unit for concrete, we've had numerous cases. We've had cases where supposedly women have been placed in concrete. We've had cases where, so like the case that was just discussed about Star Boomer last week, the bar where she went missing at, and I didn't catch this till after Dennis had done the show, and I think I even forgot to remind you, Dennis, but the bar, supposedly she was, one of the rumors theories is that they, middle of the night, they supposedly tore up the concrete at the basement stairwell going into the basement under the bar, and they dug it up, they buried her, and then they poured the concrete in the middle of the night. Supposedly that was a scenario. I don't remember correctly if they did go back and tear it up, or they did not, but I think there was some talk that we had that, hey, let's throw it out there. If they will let us come do it, I have acquaintances of concrete people. Let's go jackhammer it up. Let's dig it up. Let's see if let's efforts. If we can't, we'll have it repoured. We'll pay for it out of pocket. Well, I think at that time, we were talking with Jeff. Jeff is a member of our group that does a lot of research with us here and there. Big person. He doesn't get to spend time with us, unfortunately. Drove by the bar, and he me, dude, the bar, everything is gone, and it's just a parking lot now for a used car parking lot. And I don't remember, I didn't think that you had made that comment when you did the video, Dennis, that that the bar is gone, the
Right.
basement's, I don't know if they filled it or they dug all that stuff out, but it's now a parking lot. And I guess it's a used car parking lot, or it's a parking lot to another business, possibly. I'm not quite 100% sure. But it's gone, and it's a parking lot now. So, you know, that's a whole nother ordeal that comes into play, like in the Star Boomer case, because with Star Boomer's case, you know, we had basically 3 different paths to take. And the bar, the stairwell, the concrete landing at the bottom was one of them. And then, you know, we had the possibility of the river, which we know is astronomically would be insane to find her remains. And then the other location we haven't discussed, which we still need to move forward on with that location. So, you know, it's, I don't know what's going on, but the dogs are going crazy. So that's a perfect example of, you know, was supposedly she buried under the concrete? Could she have been in the concrete? You know, the Springfield 3, the 3 girls down in Springfield, Missouri, that situation. You know, are they in the concrete? Was concrete poured in the middle of the night somehow? Something happened. Were they placed below the gravel, the base to the concrete? You know, we don't know. But, you know, this radar concrete, you know, scanning device is something that, you know, hopefully someday we can acquire also to use, you know, for doing this type of searches.
See, and on stars, the whole concrete theory originally came from her sister-in-law, the lady I grew up around. And according to her, the sidewalk right outside the back door of the bar a section had been torn out that night and had brand new concrete poured by the time it got light again.
Which totally makes no sense whatsoever unless it had to do with foul play.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. Unless you have a water main break, a sewer line, septic line break underneath concrete, why else would you tear up concrete in the middle of the night? Unless it's foul play. So, so testing and learning would be getting concrete, doing an experiment, you know, building a box, pouring concrete in the bottom. This is not meant to be morbid, but basically getting like a deceased pig for butchering purposes and placing it in the concrete, pouring concrete, making a block, let it set for a while, and then starting to learn by scanning the concrete and trying to understand. So, you know, we know this object, which was a living, breathing object at one time. We know it's in this. Let's see what the what you know, what the remains are going to be. Come here.
And anytime we do experiments like that, we will be filming those and bringing you guys along with it. And we will be documenting all the information from that. And we'll have that available for any other team if they wish a copy of those results to help them in their efforts as well.
Yeah.
So
And by,
going back
by
to
all means,
going back
no,
to
go ahead.
this question, so are you saying they will be able to find children or people buried in concrete? A concrete scanner, as Alex explained, it is going to show the void that is going to have the size and dimensions of a person. It won't actually tell us there's a person there, but that there is a void there that fits the description of what it would be if a person was there, and let us know to move forward on that. If
Yeah,
there's no void, there's no person there. But if there
yeah,
is the void that's a consistent size with that individual, then it definitely needs
yeah.
dug.
Yeah, and I do know that they make different ones when it comes to the concrete radar, because I have read about one that they actually look for rebar, that it will show the rebar in the concrete, because of course there is situation where people forgot to put rebar in support columns or in floors. And so I know there's different kinds that look for different things in concrete. And I know at one time Milwaukee actually made one for scanning concrete. So yeah, it's just gonna, you know, it's gonna be moving forward and learning about different tools, different types of radar, things that could possibly be done. So yeah, I mean, on these cases where supposedly there's the rumors, theories, accusations that somebody's in concrete, below concrete, this is where it would be awesome to show up and pull out these different tools and say, okay, let's start off with this. We're going to scan the concrete to see if we see any voids right here where supposedly there's a lead that says, yeah, over in parking, B3 through B5, supposedly these bodies are in the concrete flat work, the floor. Let's scan it. Okay, we didn't see any voids. Okay, let's move on to the GPR. Let's try to scan through the concrete and look at the grade work, the gravel layer into the dirt layer below this area and see what we can see. So that's basically how it would work. And like I said, that case is pretty, I guess to say pretty adamant that the majority of people think that those three girls, the Springfield Three, as they're known, you all can look up the cases, on YouTube. I know we've talked about them before in the past. But you can read stories where they have discussed the hospital, the concrete, the whole scenario, for sure. A blue tint to him right now from his computer screen.
I'm gonna try something here. Let's do this.
Are you going to try to pull up pictures of the Springfield 3 case, girls?
Yeah.
Just to show. And by all means, we're not trying to get sidetracked from the Marc Fullerton case. A lot of times our discussions, we start out with one case and then, the audience will ask about a case or something. And, we do get a little off the course, but unfortunately, we're just trying to spread awareness, and we do talk about other cases besides the case that is the case of the show, basically. And these three girls, so two of them were related. One was a mother, one was a daughter, and then the other girl was the daughter's friend. and it was right around kind of similar, if I remember, kind of like a Randy Leach story. I believe they so these two right here were mother and daughter, and then this one was the daughter's friend. But of course, this lady was the one in the middle's mother, and they all three went missing at the same time from the same location. But I believe that they went to their senior graduation party and then came home and then was going out again, and I think that's when they didn't come home. I can't remember the exact story, but
they went to Branson for their graduation party, and then they come back to the house where the mother who went missing too. They come back there and they went missing from the house.
Okay. So, but that's a very popular, and I hate to say popular, the word popular, but it is a very well-known missing case of missing people. So, and it's one where multiple people went missing all at the same time too. So, and of course, none of them have ever been found.
In fact, one of our upcoming Sunday night live open discussions will be on the Springfield 3. I think, and I don't want to jump the gun here, next Sunday night may be a dowsing episode on a case. If so, then the following Sunday night, we will try to do the Springfield 3.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we are getting close to the 2-hour mark here. And knowing StreamYard, it's either going to kick us off or it's not. So
right. Yeah, sometimes it kicks us off at 2 hours, sometimes 2 hours and 15 minutes, sometimes 2.5 hours. Yeah. And then when we do end the stream, me and Alex and Tamara, if she's here, we get to stay on and talk amongst ourselves for a bit. And then it will eventually kick us off of that.
Yeah. It does some odd things here and there for some reason. Not really sure why, but I just do want to say thanks to everybody that has watched us tonight over on the TikTok channel. I hope this is your time. If you're of the TikTok channels, great. If not, hopefully follow and like the TikTok. Hopefully follow and like, Muddy Water Search and Recovery, YouTube channel, all of our stuff. So check and see, did we get any new subscribers since we've been talking all this? Are we 2450, I believe?
2950 still.
Or I'm sorry. What is it?
2950.
2950.
And you all over on TikTok, if you haven't seen one of the dowsing episodes where Tamara, one of our team members, she uses her dowsing rods and takes yes or no questions on a case. If you haven't seen her do that on one of these, please tune in next Sunday night. It is really interesting, and you can ask in the comments yes or no questions, and they will be read out loud for her, and she will see what answers comes through. Just remember to keep the questions as specific and detailed as possible.
Yeah. Yes, it's always a wonderful time when Tamara does this, um, and it's a great way for the audience to be a part because the audience will constantly be asking questions, concerning a case, and of course, we will give everybody a heads up that we are doing this kind of live show. That way, we can. Try to let as many people know to be in the audience that would like to be a part of it. So, but it's definitely a great way to be a part of the show for sure.
And I was going to announce these Tuesday nights on the Tuesday Night Live feed, but this one I think we can go ahead and say I will confirm Tuesday night if it's what the show will be, if it is a dowsing episode. But if it is, it's going to be on the Chance Engelbert case. Chance missing out in Nebraska.
Okay. And Chance has been one of our cases for a while now. Chance's story it's a crazy one. It's definitely got some twists and turns, and I have no idea what is going on downstairs. I don't, there's so many twists and turns from a possible accident to possible foul play with family members. It's definitely a story that, of someone who went missing that you want to study up on it. That way, if you want to come on and ask questions, you've already got your questions wrote out, and you'll be, you'll it's a wonderful way to kind of learn, and it's for learning purpose, what it's about. So,
and this question, having done the dowsing, has it brought closer possible solutions to finding the missing? I will say this on that. She's done 2 episodes on the Randy Leach case, and there was some stuff Alex and I had been working on for quite some time, and a lot of it was stuff that we haven't brought public. And Tamara lives in Nebraska. She's not around us, and we do talk to her quite a bit in our group chat, but not on the phone like Alex and I always are. And some of the questions that either we asked or a viewer asked, is the answers were coming back very consistent with what we have been finding. Surprisingly consistent in a lot of that. Now, I know a lot of people don't believe in the dowsing and all of that. I want to be open-minded. I believe that missing loved ones deserve every opportunity of being found. And just how accurate it has been on certain things makes me want to keep this going on here. If I felt like, this ain't bringing answers, this is a waste of time, it's not real, nothing's working, we just wouldn't do it no more. But there's been enough accuracy on things that she did not know about beforehand that I do feel we need to keep doing this. And I do think it is helping us get closer to answers.
yeah. I agree. And we've had so much feedback from viewers that are that watch the episodes that Dennis, you have made it well known to us that people are definitely interested in it. People are wanting more of it. So, and it's safe to say that when we are doing a dowsing rod episode, we have a decent crowd versus just a normal crowd. So yeah.
Okay, so as much as you have gathered, is Randy in water or underground? My opinion, I don't think Randy's actually underwater. Maybe at times, but I don't think he's fully submerged underwater all the time. And that is just my opinion. Underground, I don't think he's in a cave.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And Randy's case is one that, Alex, I use you for an example. There's some things in Randy's case that Alex thinks, it's going to be this situation over this other situation. I think it's going to be this situation versus this. Megan's going to think it's something completely different, and it's neither one of these. But my opinion, I don't think he's submerged underwater all the time, and I don't think he's in a cave. I think that, my opinion, I believe that he was buried in the car and that the car is sometimes exposed, if that makes sense. There's a location of interest I have on that we will be getting checked out. Do we think it was premeditated? If my personal theory is correct, then yes, I think it would be premeditated. Most of the theories that are out there lead more towards not premeditated, but just by convenience, basically. I mean, there are some theories where you could argue premeditated, but I think there's more theories that argue that this was just a crime of convenience if it was foul play. I definitely think there is still the chance that he had an accident and just hasn't been found. I just don't believe that accident was in the water.
Yeah. But, unfortunately, all anybody can do is just keep, and to see where he's at.
See, but Alex, I think this is one thing that sets us apart from some of the others. Some of the other teams, if they feel that, and just hypothetical, and I'm going to use the Randy Leach case as a situation, if they feel that Randy's not going to be in the water, they just aren't going to search the water anymore. They're going to focus elsewhere. For us,
I agree.
I don't think he's in the water, but that doesn't mean we're not going to look at it, because until we know for certain, nothing can be ruled out 100%.
That's right. And until, and at this point, nobody has ever come forward saying, this is what happened. I was there. We get all this stuff over so many years, but there's nothing at this point that probably truly says anything one way, shape, form, or another. So, at this point, we just still keep looking at every conceivable realistic or factual lead as to what could put us in the right direction, you know.
Hey,
You know, supposedly Randy was at a pizza joint in Eudora or DeSoto. Have we ever looked into that? No. You know, because it was just a eyewitness sighting of supposedly, but where is that gonna go? I mean, where's it gonna take us? The only reason we know about that was because of a report that was on a police report that was noted and dictated and documented. That's it. So there's hundreds of those situations. So we are trying to look at stuff that is on the more level of being realistically, this is probably what happened over, okay, well, he was seen at Walmart supposedly 2 years later. Okay, well, how do we go back and look at that in a realistic way? You know, so we try to really look at everything to what is going to give us the most promising, realistic or factual lead to get us somewhere to find him.
And here we have a question that kind of goes back to what I was saying, explaining a bit ago. Are we leaning toward Randy just had an accident and nobody was even aware, or not an accident and somebody knows something but just not talking? I still think it's foul play. I know Tamara believes that Randy had an accident and has not been found. Alex, where do you stand on that?
You know, I am still, when it comes down to the 50-50, I still think he went to California. And I say this because not only of the picture in the National Geographics, because we have had somebody reach out to us that has told us the story of Randy, how he left, how he got there, who he met up with. We have seen screenshots, current screenshots of this person talking to another person that is supposedly a distant cousin, and I'm talking 2 or 3 down the family tree, but is a second, third, fourth cousin, and they're talking about Randy. And basically, this person is saying that Randy's mom and dad knew that Randy was in California. We have seen the screenshots. Now, is this all true, or is it BS made up? We don't know. All we've done is look at it and been like, well, this is
different.
This person says they're related to Randy, that they are a distant cousin, and that back in 89, 90, or 91, that supposedly they knew he was out there. We don't know that. But all we can do is look at that no different than we can look at supposedly he was at Pizza Hut. Although this seems a little more okay. Well, let's look at this. You know? So I want to believe, and this is my reason where I go with my California, is we knew when Randy went missing, they did the very next day they were looking for him. There was people supposedly, there was on ATVs, 4-wheelers, 3-wheelers, there was people on horses. people in airplanes searching. They did look at the creeks. They did look all the roads to and from the party to his house. There was comments after comments made that they were in a drought in 1988. The NOAA, the historical weather data stuff for waters levels show that it was low. The only way I personally feel that he was in the water is if he went out of the 5 mile, 10 mile radius of his home in any direction, and he went somewhere else that night and then went off into a body of water that's not been searched because it's not within the radius and the direction that he would go home. Because we've all talked about it. Randy knew he had a curfew, and supposedly he was pretty good at being home at his curfew. In my mind, whatever happened to Randy had to have been between 11:30 and midnight, because if he knew he had to be home at midnight and he had a 8-minute drive home, a 10-minute drive home, he probably would have left, hypothetically, let's just say 11:30 to 12:30 to get home, even though he would have been late if he would have left after midnight. That's how I feel that if he was a habitual curfew, didn't make it on his curfew, habitually was always late, then yeah. Okay, was he still at the party at 2 o'clock? Probably was. If he never made it home to his curfew, was he always getting in trouble because he was evidently was allowed to go out. So he must have not been a troublemaker when it came to being home when you're told to be home. So, we don't know. All we can do is look at it and try to make rational, realistic, or factual decisions. And for me, like I said, I just don't think he's in water unless it's out of his general area and it's in a place that's searched. With the water levels still being low, yes, that is a major factor when it comes to a creek, the river. But, just because a pond is low doesn't mean that it's not deep. Just because the creek or the river is low doesn't mean that it's deep. But from what people have said, that Stranger Creek, the creek that would have been crossed to go home, was only a few feet deep. Well, how did a car disappear in a few feet deep of water? So it's just trying to make heads or tails of what seems realistic and factual.
See, and that brings us back to Mac's comment: until he is located, every location is open to search.
That's true. Just the other day, I saw something, and this is something that somebody posted. Okay? This is not coming out of Dennis and I's mouth, except me telling you. I saw somebody said, and they posted, that a house that's 1 or 2 houses down from the leeches, somebody within 1 or 2 areas of the leeches has a pond. And when they looked at Google Earth historical imaging, I think that's what they said, that the month after, or the month of April, whatever, in 1988, that there is a backhoe in what looks to be like a car, and you can see that they've dug a big giant hole next to a pond, and there's a car setting off to the side. And they are basically saying, whether it's Randy's car or not, somebody was burying a car just a couple houses down from the leeches. Now, since I've read that comment, I have been busy and I have not gone back to Google Earth, gone back, looked at the closest images to the date that Randy went missing, and looked at all the houses and to see who had a pond or who didn't have a pond back then. But this was posted on a YouTube video, not one of the videos that Dennis and I have done, but somebody else. This was posted from somebody else at that time period. So, us following up with that, looking at it and then trying to see, until we go look for that image, it's just hearsay. It's just another rumor, hearsay, accusation of something that they witnessed. So, and he's gone again for the moment. So hopefully he'll be back here in just a second. So, the comment here, that's crazy. He had his car in the shop, a brand new Moore, but sure he went off gallivanting to California. That's ridiculous. Exactly. It does sound ridiculous because he supposedly had this Mustang being restored. His mom and dad went to the John Deere dealer and bought a brand new, John Deere garden tractor lawnmower for him to mow grass to make income over the summer because he wanted to mow grass. He had I don't know if he'd already started a lawn mowing business or he had one that had been going and was using older stuff. But yeah, he had a lot to look forward to. So yeah, it does seem crazy. But in the same token, when you're seeing messages from somebody in California that's acknowledging that they are a distant relative through the bloodline side, aunts and uncles, and that supposedly knew he was out there, that's just crazy. It is. Is that crazy? But it's just something we follow up on and read.
And going with that, we've actually seen from more than one person through screenshotted text messaging that were saying that Randy was there. Just like the other guy in the Nat Geo magazine, we were able to identify him. And if I'm not mistaken, he said Randy was there too. So,
and and not but we had also, in one of the dowsing rod episodes where we did, I even asked the question, is somebody else trying to pretend to be Randy? We don't know. We don't know for sure, because when we look at that situation and we look at the stuff that's been provided to us, no, it seems pretty legit, Realistically, Randy's parents said that was not him in that photograph. And by all means, we're not saying they do or they don't know. But let's be honest, we've all seen those pictures on Facebook where it shows the people who are getting their mug shot taken for the very first time. They look like the average person. And then you've seen where they've been addicted to drugs and alcohol and everything else. And then you see pictures that are four years later. 6 years later, and they look like a totally different person, even though they look similar. Their faces get fat, their faces get real skinny and sunk in. You know, people do change. You know, people do gain weight, people do lose weight, people do cut their hair different, people do things over time. You know, by all means, we're not saying 100% one way or another it is or is not him. We're just trying to look at the evidence that's been provided to us to make a realistic, factual, you know, is this something that we need to follow up on 100% and make the 100% devotion to looking into California? I have put digital billboards up in California for Randy. I have done it on the Hollywood Strip, you know, there in that general area where all the bars were, all that stuff was going on. I have spent countless dollars doing that type of stuff. Did anything ever become of it? Zero. Not one thing ever became of it. But when you have multiple people saying yes, 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 it makes you wonder. Because in all reality, what is it going to benefit those people living out there? Because they're not linked to somebody back here that's trying to throw a curveball. I mean, I guarantee there's no premeditated curveball throwing going on in this game in California. You know, back here, very well could possibly be, you know, but.
Speaking of curveballs back here, I'll mention something. We kind of referenced it before. I had somebody reach out to me that claimed to be an eyewitness and knew exactly what happened to Randy. We followed this through every rabbit hole and was able to prove that this guy's story was physically impossible. The location given was nothing like what he explained. The time frames were off. Certain players in this was off. It's hard for somebody to be involved in a murder physically if they're sitting in jail somewhere at that time. And so we were able to, and it took a while to do it. In fact, Alberta, Betty, and Larry, we were able to contact them, let them know what was going on, get them in contact with the source. This is the one that we were eventually asked to hold off on moving forward because we had a search scheduled to go to that property. And we were asked to hold off on it because they had law enforcement involved and law enforcement was going to do it. This was the one that I did get frustrated on because through several weeks of hearing this, it turned out it was retired law enforcement officers that they were working with at the time and not actual current law enforcement who could physically do something. But Alex and I really dug into that whole story and was able to determine it was a lie from the get-go. And we put a lot of time, effort, money. I don't know how many times we drove to the area just driving by to get eyes on certain things. And the guy seemed 100% credible.
Yeah, he was creditable. He was creditable of the location of him repeatedly telling us time and time and time and time and time again, this is where it happened. this is what was there on this thing. And by then, Dennis and I was already in the historical imaging sites, Google Earth imaging, and we are looking at this, and this was nothing more than basically a farm field. There was no structures there. There was not this there. When Randy went missing in 1988, it was a field. And he pointed on a map. This is where it was. This is the location. This is the road. This is where it's at. And it was, no, dude, you're lying to us. Why are you lying? No, this is where it is. No, it physically could not. So either you are not remembering where you were at or you're lying. No, this is where it happened. Okay, you're lying to us, because there was no buildings there in 1988. There was no buildings there in 1987. There was no buildings there in 1985. So on and so forth. So,
because I believe it was 94 or 95 before there was finally any type of structure there.
Yeah. There was some time when they built the first house property, and I guess in a way everything he said was legit. The players' names that were brought up in it, people were named, all these things were brought up. These people truly do exist. But the thing is the location was not exist. So either his past lifestyle clouded his memory on where he was truly at, or he was at somebody else's house and was really confused, which we ran that scenario. There was another location of interest that could pass very well for that location, but he insisted where it happened is where he told us it did. And there was just no way.
No.
The evidence was there. The historical imaging evidence is there that it did not happen. So we are going to try every way to disprove what someone tells us and find out the truth, whether, hey, this is what happened. We're going to look into it. We're going to look at images. We're going to search things, So, and of course, we always want what someone to be the truth. But it doesn't always work out that way.
No.
For sure.
This guy even named somebody that many years after Randy went missing stepped out in the spotlight to start trying to help find Randy. He named that person as being there too, and not physically a part of what happened, but was there and witnessed it. I mean, he named so many names.
Yeah.
And turns out, like Alex is saying, unless he just had the wrong location in mind or in his memory, it was all a lie. But we made him confirm that location at least a dozen times over about a 6-month period. But we do have a location that does match the details he gave, but it's going to require ground penetrating radar or a cadaver dog.
Yeah, because unfortunately that area has changed.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, Alex, we are on borrowed time right now.
Yeah, I suspect any moment it's going to kick us off, because we are either 34 minutes past time or we are 4 minutes past, but it either kicks off at 2 or 2.5 hours. So, But thank you to everybody that was with us tonight. And I know we strayed away from the Mark Fullerton case multiple times, but that's kind of how things go, because the audience always has questions about other cases. But I just want to thank everybody that was here tonight. I want to thank everybody on the TikTok channel that's watching us right now through my phone, looking at my laptop as we are doing StreamYard. So to everybody that has joined and watched us tonight, please, if you can find it in your heart, please give us a like, a share, please, like and join, share, both of the Muddy Waters Search and Recovery TikTok channels. Like I mentioned before, I have one, Dennis has one. Like, share, subscribe to the Muddy Waters, YouTube channel, the Facebook pages. One way, shape, or some form, we are on a lot of social media stuff. Some stuff we do not do a lot on. We mostly focus on YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. So if you can find in your heart, please, share, like, whatever, help spread awareness. We'd like to get to that 3,000 member mark on YouTube, so we can do something special for everybody. So good night, Joanne.
Over on our website, the mwsar.com, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the website, it does have links to all of the different platforms that we're on. It's got a link to Alex's TikTok, to my TikTok, to the YouTube channels. Everything is over there, just as an easy place to have it all.
Yeah. For sure.
So, guys, we're going to jump off of here before it does kick us off. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, Tuesday night, we'll be live again with updates and just basic talk. There are 2 new cases I'm going to get out to you guys, hopefully by tomorrow evening. And we will see you guys then. So,
all right.
There.
Well, good night, everybody, and thank you.